You're thinking of buying a business? Here's some of the things that I've learned while going through that process. Most people spend months scrolling through all these websites with all the listed businesses for sale in your area, asking for some information from the brokers, maybe getting some back, not sure what to do with it, doesn't usually get anywhere. So I've been there, done that. Here's what I've learned while going through this process myself. So first, great businesses don't usually end up being listed on these websites. The best deals out there are sold and presented to close circle of people that are qualified buyers within a certain mailing list with brokers or some M&A firm. They get to be the first to review the information of that business. If they like it, they'll go ahead and purchase it, and you may never end up on any of the websites. So how do you manage that? You have to get on a mailing list for the brokers and M&A firms in the area that you're looking to buy the business. They will want to qualify you, so be ready to share your information. They don't want to send their seller and the business information to anyone. It's a lot of private information, even if they might cover the name. So be ready to show them that you have the ability to close this deal and buy this business. Keep in mind, relationships is what gets the deals, not just the money. So you want to build these relationships with the brokers and M&A firms and the small M&A firms in the area. If you get into their mailing list, you might have a better chance at getting a shot at a deal. Second, if you think that you will find a perfect deal, you're fooling yourself. There is no such thing as a perfect deal. All the deals will have something about them. The ones that are perfect, either the seller is going to keep the business because it's that perfect, or it's going to be purchased very fast by someone else that understands that this is a good business. So it's very difficult to find a very good business that has no flaws whatsoever. So you will have to be accepting the fact that there are some things that will not be ideal, and that might actually be in your interest. If you buy something that's ideal, there's no opportunity for you to make it better. So sometimes what you want to do is look for these businesses that have things that you could potentially add value by improving and increase the value of the business and maybe make more money. Maybe they have a very weak website or no website at all, and you can improve that by adding a website and growing the business in that way. That's just one of the examples, many things in there. It comes with risk, but it provides you opportunities. Throughout the years, I've seen a lot of people buy businesses with no due diligence, or thinking that due diligence is just looking at the legal stuff. While legal stuff is important, there's a lot more to it. You want to look at the numbers, you want to look at the taxes, you want to look at the owner and history and any legal as well. All of that stuff is very important. The reason due diligence is important because you want to understand what risks are there in the business to be able to manage them, not to necessarily kill the deal, but potentially if there are bad things in there that you really don't like large tax liabilities or maybe potential issues with clients and legal issues from the past, you want to talk to your lawyer and accountant. But if there are things in the past that could be a risk to you, you want to understand that before you spend all the money, especially if you're buying shares. When you buy shares, all that history follows you, the good and the bad. So you definitely want to invest more time into the due diligence on the share purchase. If you buy an asset, there might be less risks because you're just transferring the ownership of the assets, but still look into it. And I strongly recommend, as always, talk to your lawyer and accountant about it to help you go through that and make sure they know what they're doing and they've done it in the past. If it's their first time doing it, they might miss a few things because the list could be quite comprehensive of the things that need to be done. So how to manage the due diligence stage? The best thing I can recommend is to build your team of professionals, at least accountant and lawyer and a good banker. But if you want to go to the next step, find a business acquisition individual that can help you purchase and review in business and take you through the right steps so you don't miss anything. Next, you need to understand what kind of seller you're dealing with. If they're uncooperative, they can make the transition very difficult and maybe even kill the business after you buy it. If they have a lot of connections with the existing clients of the business and they're not cooperative, it can really hurt you. If they're cooperative, it can make the transition a lot smoother and help you get to success faster. So some of the things to watch for, among many others, but is the seller emotionally attached to the business? It's something you want to watch for, because if they are, it might be difficult for them to let go. And that can result in many difficulties. Is the seller open and transparent? Do they tell you about potential issues and risks in advance, or do you have to find something, bring it to them, and they will then try to explain and give you more details about it or come up with a story? That might not be a great sign. Are they willing to support your transition into the business? This is very important, especially if that seller is a material risk to the business or a key person to the business. Do they hold all the relationships with your clients? Do they hold all the relationships with the suppliers? Are they the only ones that understand how the business works? If that is the case, they're very material, and you need to make sure that they are willing to go through this process with you, because there's nobody else that understands the business or has this much connection to the business as the seller. If there is a team that knows how the business works, if there's somebody else on the team that deals with the suppliers and the clients, maybe the risk is a little bit less, but you need to assess that and understand it to a deeper degree. So bottom line, the seller is also very important to the transaction. Last but not least is how much money do you need? 20% is the bare minimum that will open the door for you to at least have the conversations, but I would say 30% and more is where you want to be at, because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room and the ability to maybe inject in the business to help it grow and change it. You don't always need to come up with all the money. You can try to find a partner, but I would recommend sticking to 30% and higher if you want to be taken a little bit more seriously, and that is liquid cash that you can inject. On top of that, you might want to have some money for yourself, so you don't need to start taking money out of the business right away, especially if you get a loan, because some of the profit that you make will probably go into that loan. Look, buying a business can be quite stressful. I understand. I went through the process a few times myself. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of money on the line. There's timelines. Everybody wants to move faster and ask less questions, while you want to ask more questions to make sure you're doing the right thing. I understand. The thing is, if you have a team, a strong team with you, as I said, lawyer, accountant, banker, and maybe a business buying professional, they will help you go through the process much faster, much easier, much smoother, and will help you avoid mistakes. So I would strongly recommend looking at that and building that A team. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, send me a message or an email, and we can discuss further. I again strongly recommend talk to your accountant, lawyer, and a banker about what you're trying to do and how much you can potentially buy.